I left my friends behind in a fire. What happened next will shock you. I was just visiting this small town for work. Quiet, foggy streets, a diner that closes at 8, and the kind of silence that makes your ears ring. I had only been here for a few hours, just enough to check into the motel and grab a coffee from the corner store. That's when it happened. As I walked back to my car, a little girl appeared out of nowhere. She couldn't have been older than 7. Pale skin, dark tangled hair, and wide, glassy eyes like she'd been crying or watching something too long. She stood directly in front of me on the sidewalk and said, "You came back again? Mommy's not gonna like that." I stopped cold. "What?" I said, nervous smile, thinking maybe she mistook me for someone else. But she didn't blink. Didn't move. "Last time you made her cry." Goosebumps crawled up my neck. I looked around. Empty street. No sign of parents. No cars. Just her and me in the creeping fog. "Where's your mom?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She looked behind me. "She's watching." I spun around. Nothing. When I turned back, the girl was gone. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I told myself it was just a weird kid. Maybe a prank. Maybe I was overtired. But part of me knew this wasn't normal. The next morning, I went to the diner. I told the waitress about the girl. She froze. "You saw her?" She whispered. "Saw who?" I asked. She leaned in. "That little girl. She's been dead for over 40 years. I dropped my fork. "What do you mean dead?" "She drowned. In that river by the woods. Locals say she still walks around sometimes. Looking for someone." I forced a laugh, but it sounded fake even to me. Then she added something that made my stomach drop. "They say she only shows herself to people who've been here before. Or who are about to never leave." I left the diner as soon as I finished breakfast. Something in my gut told me to go, not just leave, escape. I packed my bag from the motel and jumped in the car. But when I turned on the GPS, things got worse. No signal, no route available, no connection. Fine, I thought. I made it here without GPS, I'll just backtrack. I remembered the way to the highway and started driving. Straight down the main road, past the church and the gas station. 20 minutes passed, then 30, then 40, and I ended up right in front of the motel again. I hadn't turned around. I was sure of it. I drove straight. I stepped out of the car and looked around. Dead silence. The door to my motel room was wide open. I had locked it. I heard something from inside, soft, like shuffling. Or a child laughing. My stomach turned. I pulled out my phone again. Still no signal. I went inside. Slowly, everything looked wrong. The room felt off. The walls were a slightly different color. My backpack was on the wrong bed. The TV was an old boxy one, but last night, it was a flat screen, like I had stepped into the same room in a different time. Then I saw her, in the mirror, the girl, standing behind me. Even though the room was empty, I spun around. No one. Looked back in the mirror. She was closer. Dark eyes. Blue lips. One hand raised, like she was about to touch my shoulder. And then she whispered, "Why did you leave us?" I didn't wait. I ran out of the room, slammed the door behind me, and sprinted to my car, but the car wouldn't start. Sitting there, I looked up at the rearview mirror. She was in the back seat, whispering, "Now you're back with us." I scrambled out of the car, heart hammering, legs trembling so badly I nearly fell. I didn't look back. Couldn't. I ran into the woods. Didn't even think, just ran. Branches slapped my face. Thorns ripped at my clothes. The fog got thicker with every step, like it was trying to swallow me, but I had to get away from her. Eventually, I stumbled into a clearing. Old wooden benches. A rusted swing set, a playground, abandoned, rotting, and eerily quiet, and then the swing moved, just one. Slow. Squeaking like nails on metal, I stood frozen, breathing hard, watching as it creaked back and forth. then a sound behind me, a whisper, "You used to push me here." I turned slowly. She stood in the middle of the clearing. This time, she looked sad. Not threatening. Just broken. Her voice was soft. "You left me. You left all of us. What do you want from me?" I asked, my voice shaking, her head tilted. Her lips parted, barely a breath. "To remember." I blinked. "Remember what?" She didn't answer. She just turned and walked away, toward the trees, and despite every instinct, I followed her. She led me to a path, narrow, overgrown, hidden. I swear it wasn't there before. I followed in silence, branches clawing at me like fingers. After 10 minutes of walking, we stopped. There was a cabin, old, caved-in roof, door hanging off the hinges. It looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. She pointed to it. "It started here." I stepped forward slowly. My pulse was thunder in my ears. I reached for the door, and then I heard something move inside, not a whisper. Not a breath, the growl, low. Wet. Inhuman. The girl didn't flinch, she just smiled. "She's awake." I should have run. Every part of me screamed to turn around, to leave that cabin and never look back, but I didn't. I pushed the door open. The wood groaned like it hadn't been moved in years. The air inside was thick, mold, rot, and something else, something sweet, but wrong. Like spoiled meat under perfume. Inside, the room was almost empty, a broken chair, a rotted mattress, and carvings on every wall. Thousands of tiny scratches and symbols, spiraling around the room like a madman had lived here. In the center of the floor was a circle, black ash. Bones. And something wet. The girl stepped in beside me. "This is where she first saw you," she said. I turned to her. "Who is she?" She looked up at me, eyes wide, almost glowing in the dim light. "The one you forgot." The circle on the floor twitched. I swear, the ash moved, like something underneath was breathing. Then I heard it, whispers. Not from the girl, from the walls, fast, layered, overlapping voices. Crying. Screaming. Pleading. They were saying my name. Over and over. I backed away, heart racing. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked her, desperate now. She didn't answer. Instead, she turned to the wall and pressed her hand against the carvings, and one by one, the scratches began to glow. The room dimmed, the voices grew louder, and from the floor, something began to rise. A shape, tall, twisted. Not human, blackened limbs. A face that flickered like firelight, no eyes. Just holes. It reached toward me, slow, deliberate, like it was savoring the moment, and then it spoke. "You said you wouldn't forget us." I couldn't move. My legs felt like they were submerged in cement. My lungs refused to fill. That thing towered over me, and yet, I couldn't look away. The holes where its eyes should have been, they were staring right into my thoughts. "You said you wouldn't forget us," it repeated, voice like cracking wood and whispering wind. "I don't know you," I whispered, but the girl turned toward me with something between pity and rage in her face. "You do. You just don't want to." The creature stepped back into the circle, and in a blur, the room changed, not physically, mentally. Memories I didn't recognize started crashing into my head. Children. 5 or 6 of them. A fire. Screams. I was outside a cabin, just like this one, holding a flashlight, yelling their names, but I couldn't reach them. Couldn't get inside. I saw the door burning, I saw the faces in the window, and then I turned and ran. "No." I muttered. "No, that's not real." The girl's voice cut through everything. "You left us there." Tears welled in my eyes. My hands trembled. I was just a kid. I said, "So were we." She snapped. The creature in the circle shifted again. Its skin peeled like smoke. I could see faces inside its chest, little faces, distorted in agony. I fell to my knees. Everything felt like it was collapsing. The girl walked up to me. She looked almost human now. Almost kind, but her words were ice. "You forgot." But we didn't. Now it's your turn to burn. The cabin lit up, not from lights, from flames. Fire exploded along the walls. The carvings burned first. Then the windows melted. Heat scorched my face, but I couldn't move. The last thing I saw was the girl's face as it melted into ash, and then I gasped, air flooded my lungs. I was lying on the ground outside the cabin, no fire, no girl, no creature, just silence. Stillness. The trees stood motionless, like they'd been watching. I sat up, dizzy, shaking. My skin still burned like I'd been too close to a blast furnace, but the cabin, it was gone, only a patch of scorched earth remained. Black, cracked, smoking, I stood, stumbling forward, trying to make sense of what just happened. Then I heard it, a phone ringing, faint. Far away. But real. I followed the sound through the trees, until I found it, a rotary phone nailed to a tree, old. Rusted. But ringing. My hand trembled as I picked it up. Hello? A pause. Then a woman's voice, soft. Familiar. You never said goodbye. I froze. That voice, I knew it. But I couldn't place it. Not yet. Who is this? I asked. More silence. Then a whisper, you buried us. The line went dead. I dropped the phone, heart thundering in my chest. Behind me, footsteps. I turned, no one. Then again, but this time from the left. I spun around. Still nothing, but now. Laughter, children. Dozens of them, all around me. Echoing from the trees, and then I saw them, photos. Nailed to trees. Hundreds. Maybe thousands. All black and white. All children. All dead-eyed, and in the center. One photo was newer, color, me as a child, standing in front of this very forest. Smiling. I stared at the photo nailed to the tree and my own face, frozen in time. Maybe 8 years old. Dirty sneakers. That same red hoodie I barely remembered owning. How was it here? I reached out and touched the image. As soon as my fingers brushed the photo, the world shifted again, not physically. Mentally, I was standing in that forest. But it was years ago. The trees were younger. The air warmer. Children were running around me, laughing, screaming, playing. I turned and saw myself, younger, sitting on a log next to a fire pit, and next to me, 5 other kids. Their faces were suddenly familiar, my childhood friends, Nico, Ellie, Travis, and the twins, June and Emma. Memories slammed back into me like a flood. We came here every summer. Our parents dropped us off at a cabin retreat, no adults. Just wilderness, flashlights, dares, ghost stories. But then one summer, something went wrong. We played a game, something stupid. We called it Find the Forgotten. One person hid deep in the woods. The others had to find them before dark, but that year, I was the one hiding. I climbed into a rotted tree trunk. Covered myself in leaves. I waited for them to find me. They never did, and when I finally came out, they were gone. I screamed. Called their names. Ran through the trees. Eventually, I found the cabin, on fire. I ran. I never told anyone. I told myself it was a dream. That they left me behind. That someone came back and took them home. But now I knew the truth. They never left. They burned. Because I waited too long. I stumbled backward from the photo, my mind spinning, everything I had buried, every lie I told myself. It was all crashing down. They died because of me, and now they wanted something. The forest was no longer silent. Whispers filled the air. My name. Again and again, I turned around, and they were standing there, all 5 of them. Nico, his skin blistered, clothes melted into him. Ellie, eyes hollow and black, arms hanging like broken branches. Travis, jaw missing, dragging one leg. The twins, still holding hands, heads tilted in opposite directions. Their mouths didn't move, but I heard them, inside my head. You forgot us. You left us. You watched us die. I didn't know. I screamed. I didn't mean to leave you. But they stepped forward, in perfect unison. The forest seemed to pulse, each tree leaning in, as if it too wanted to listen. You did nothing, Ellie hissed. You hid, Nico added. You let the fire eat us, whispered June. I dropped to my knees, sobbing. I was a kid. I didn't know. I didn't know. They surrounded me. Suddenly, I was no longer in the forest. I was in the burning cabin again. Smoke. Screams, the walls closing in, their faces pressed to the windows, and me watching, frozen, flashlight in hand. No. I muttered. No, please. Now you'll see, Travis growled. Now you'll burn with us. The flames erupted again, but this time, they didn't consume me. They held me in place, alive, searing heat. Every nerve screaming. This was no memory, this was punishment, and it had only just begun. I screamed. The fire burned hotter, but it didn't touch me. It didn't consume me, it held me there, tethered to the past. My body writhed, my skin felt like it was melting, but my mind was trapped in a loop. I was back in the cabin, watching their faces through the windows. The flames were around them. I could hear their screams, feel their pain, but I couldn't do anything. I was just watching, and then I saw it, something different, in the corner of the room, a figure. It wasn't one of them, it was a woman, tall, dressed in white. She was glowing, her hair flowing around her as if caught in an eternal wind. She stepped forward, her face. I knew her face, my mother. You abandoned them, she whispered. I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came. The flames roared, drowning out my thoughts. She continued, voice colder than ice. You were supposed to save them. But you left them behind. Just like you left me. I shook my head. No, I didn't leave you. I never, you did, she said. You've been running from the truth your whole life. The fire around me shifted. The walls of the cabin warped. I saw my childhood home, my mother's face again, her cold eyes staring back at me. You left us. You abandoned us, all of us. The flames crept closer, licking at my skin. They didn't burn. They just held me there, forcing me to feel every single moment of guilt. Every single regret, every ounce of pain I'd buried, and then I understood, I didn't leave them. I didn't leave my friends. I didn't leave my mother. I was the one who had never truly been there. The fire started to fade. It didn't die, it simply released me. My skin, burning and raw, began to heal. The walls of the cabin were gone. The forest, the children, the memories, they all vanished. I was standing there. Alone, but not in the way I had been before. This time, I wasn't trapped in the past. I wasn't locked in the flames. I could breathe again. I turned to look at the place where the cabin had been. Nothing. Just trees. Quiet, and then I heard her voice, "You're free now." It was my mother, but it wasn't like before. No anger. No disappointment, just calm. I looked around, but I didn't see her. I didn't need to. They're at peace now. They won't haunt you anymore. I felt something in my chest loosen. The weight that had crushed me for so long was lifting, but then, a thought crossed my mind, and I turned around sharply. What about you? For the first time, I heard a soft laugh. I'm already gone. And then, she was gone. I looked back at the empty forest, my heart racing, but it felt different. There was no more weight pressing on me. No more guilt. I turned and started walking. It was over.